The FBI's most wanted list includes fugitives who've committed numerous crimes. These include everything from white-collar crimes to terrorism and cyber attacks. Beyond the overall top 10 list, the FBI also has lists for individual crimes, allowing it to raise awareness of dangerous wanted criminals that may otherwise be overlooked. These are 5 of the FBI's most wanted criminals. Number 5. Rafael "Caro" Quintero was once the leader of the largest drug trafficking empire in Mexico. He formed the now defunct Guadalajara cartel in the 1970s and at one point employed over 5,000 workers. In his time at the top of his game, he was one of the preliminary suppliers of heroin, cocaine, and marijuana across the border in the United States. Caro Quintero's business naturally attracted the attention of U.S. drug enforcement agencies. As 1984 came to a close, law enforcement was beginning to close in on the cartel. Multiple raids on marijuana plantations by Mexican and U.S. law enforcement were disrupting business. One such raid in November led to the seizure of more than $50 million worth of drugs. DEA Special Agent Enrique Camarena Salazar was playing a key part in the dismantling of Caro Quintero's operation. The former fireman and police officer was working undercover inside the cartel and was responsible for feeding out information about the location of Caro Quintero's plantations. In February of 1985, Salazar was kidnapped on his way to visit his wife for lunch. He was allegedly surrounded by 5 armed men and bundled into a car, which quickly sped away. Months later, bodies of Salazar and his pilot were found wrapped in plastic bags and buried in a shallow grave 60 miles from Guadalajara. It was clear he'd been tortured with multiple injuries across his face, throat, and chest. Most disturbingly, his head had been drilled into with a screwdriver. Shortly after the bodies were found, Salazar, his girlfriend, and his associates fled to Costa Rica in a private jet. However, he was only able to hide for a month before being extradited back to Mexico. In Mexico, he was tried for multiple crimes, including the 2 murders, and found guilty, but Mexican law at the time meant that he could only serve a maximum of 40 years. However, he was released after just 28 years, after an appeal court deemed he'd been improperly tried. The decision caused a splinter in Mexican-U.S. relations, with even the White House making a statement to say the release was deeply concerning, and the DEA vowed to continue efforts to extradite Caro Quintero to the U.S. A Mexican judge released an arrest warrant just a week later, but he'd already gone underground. Though his Guadalajara cartel has now diminished, Caro Quintero still allegedly holds an active leadership role in the Sinaloa cartel and is considered armed and dangerous. There's a $20 million reward for information leading to his arrest. Number 4. Daniel Andreas San Diego was the first domestic terrorist to be placed on the FBI's most wanted list. Born in California, San Diego was described as a typical Bay Area resident. From an early age, he was attracted to straight-edge and vegan movements, refraining from drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and animal products. However, San Diego took his commitment to his beliefs much further than the average Californian. He had ties to the Animal Liberation Brigade Cell, an animal rights group which advocated animal liberation by any means necessary. In the early hours of August 28, 2003, 2 pipe bombs were detonated an hour apart at the Chirian Corporation in California. The biotech company had connections to Huntington Life Sciences, an animal testing laboratory, drawing attention from animal rights activists. There was only structural damage, but the FBI believed the second bomb was designed to target first responders. The Animal Liberation Brigade cell quickly claimed responsibility for the attack, leaving a message on its website warning more attacks would come until the company had announced it would no longer work with Huntington. About a month later, a 10-pound nitrate nail bomb was left outside Shackley Inc., another Huntington client. Again, there were no casualties, but the Animal Liberation Brigade claimed responsibility by email. San Diego wasn't initially a suspect, but his connections to various animal rights groups drew FBI attention, and he was put under 24-hour surveillance. Despite this, he managed to slip away. Investigators watched him park his car in downtown San Francisco, walk down a street, and duck into a BART station. There have only been a handful of sightings since, but the FBI believes an underground network of activists help him leave mainland US. Comments made by San Diego after the attacks indicated he would have continued to hurt people, while statements made by the Animal Liberation Brigade stated all Huntington clients and their families were targets. San Diego had multiple tattoos, including an image of burning hills on his chest, with the phrase "it only takes a spark" below. Although authorities have warned this may have been covered up. Though some consider San Diego to be a low risk compared to others on the FBI list, the FBI still regards him as armed and dangerous. Number 3. Newlyweds Patel and his wife Palak traveled from India to the United States on a honeymoon visa in March of 2015. Their stay was supposed to last less than a month, but it seemed Patel wanted to start a new life in the US. They moved in with members of the Patel's family in New Jersey. By April, he and Palak were working night shifts at a Dunkin' Donuts owned by a family member. However, Palak didn't share her husband's American dream. On the night of April 12th, they were alone working at the store. At around 9:30, Palak made a call to her family back in India. She told her mother she wasn't happy with the situation and wanted to return home. As they spoke, Patel walked in on the conversation and snatched the phone away. CCTV from the store shows Patel leading his wife through the back room as he hung up on his in-laws. They appeared to be arguing as Palak followed her husband into a storage room out of sight of the camera. There, Patel stabbed her multiple times with a large kitchen knife. The attack lasted only a minute, and Patel appeared to be calm as he left the room. There was not a spot of blood on him as he calmly walked out of the store. Customers continued to walk in and out of the store for half an hour but found no staff. At 10 p.m., one of the would-be customers grew concerned enough to reach out to a police officer that was stationed around the corner. The officer found Palak's body at the scene, but her husband was not immediately a suspect. At first, it was suggested a robbery could have taken place and Patel was kidnapped during the crime. Watching the CCTV footage, the truth quickly became apparent. After the attack, Patel walked to his nearby apartment, collected a handful of personal items, and got into a taxi to a hotel near Newark Liberty International Airport. The taxi driver said he seemed calm and there was no sign of any trouble. Patel paid for a room in cash and checked out the following morning. He hasn't been seen since. It's possible Patel fled to family in India, though his expired visa would have made it even harder for him to have left the country. There's a $100,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. Number 2. This man's name is definitely about to be butchered, but I'm gonna do my best. Maxim Viktorovich Yakubets, also known as Aqua, is described as one of the world's most harmful hackers. He's believed to be one of the masterminds behind Evil Corp, an organization that has used malware to steal millions of dollars from people and organizations around the world. Yakubets has been involved with Evil Corp since the early 2000s, when the organization used a Trojan horse software called Zeus to steal money from unsuspecting people's bank accounts. At the time, he was responsible for managing the money mules that would later launder the money. As the FBI began to crack down on Zeus software, Evil Corp experimented with different types of malware. Its most prolific is DRIDX, which automates the theft of users' banking details. Using the malware, Evil Corp was able to intercept bank transfers from members of the public and businesses. The malware is especially effective due to its adaptability. When the US and British investigators were able to disable it in 2015, Evil Corp had adapted it and resumed its activities within weeks. Authorities estimate that the group used the malware to steal at least $100 million, though the nature of the software means many victims won't know they've been infected. A joint investigation by the National Crime Agency, the FBI, and National Cybersecurity Center was able to trace the crimes back to Yakubets. Yakubets enjoyed a lavish lifestyle with a customized Lamborghini and an extravagant wedding that allegedly cost more than $400,000. Many people connected to the evil corp have been convicted for their crimes, but Yakubets still walks free. He's been indicted in the US on multiple counts of computer hacking, wire fraud, and bank fraud. If he leaves Russia, he'll be arrested and extradited to the US. Possibly most disturbing, Yakubets is believed to have links to the Russian security services. The US Treasury claims he's been working for the FSB since 2017 and works on projects for the Russian state. This could be something as simple as his expertise to provide funds for the FSB or to gather information on targets. A $5 million reward is offered for information that leads to his arrest, the biggest reward offered for a cybercriminal to date. Number 1. Jihad Serwan Mustafa is believed to be the highest-ranking US citizen fighting a terrorist organization overseas. Mustafa was born in Wisconsin but grew up in San Diego, where he went to university. He graduated from the University of California in 2004, and by the end of the following year, he left America to fight against Ethiopian forces. It was on American soil that Mustafa was radicalized. In December of 2005, he went first to Yemen and then to Somalia. There, he joined a group, a radical Islamic organization, aiming to overthrow the Somalian government. In 2012, the group merged with Al-Qaeda to spread across Africa and the Middle East. It's responsible for the deaths of thousands of innocent people. Since leaving the US, it's believed Mustafa rose up the ranks of al-Shabaab's hierarchy. In 2009, he was one of 14 Americans charged with helping al-Shabaab. At the time, he was indicted for providing material to support a foreign terrorist organization, but over the next 10 years, his crimes escalated. It's now alleged that he led acts of violence between 2009 and 2017. He's believed to have worked in training camps and medical wings, though agents claim his current role is leading the explosive departments. Mustafa is believed to be particularly dangerous due to his US roots. While al-Shabaab has mostly been focused on African politics, it's recently called for more attacks again on US citizens. In September of 2019, it claimed responsibility for an attack on an American military base in Somalia. It's believed Mustafa's leadership could be dangerous to the US citizens in America and abroad. He could also play a role in radicalizing other US citizens. Last year, the FBI claimed it was intensifying its search for Mustafa. There's a $5 million reward for any information that could lead to his arrest. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.